"Well, little mother," said he, "if you know all, stay, there is nothing more to be done, we will talk before you." "Yes, you are quite right, my little father," rejoined she, "it is of no use your trying to play the sly fox. Send for the officers." We again met. Ivan Kuzmich read to us, before his wife, Pugachev's proclamation, drawn up by some illiterate Cossack. The robber proclaimed his intention of marching directly upon our fort, inviting the Cossacks and the soldiers to join him, and counseling the chiefs not to withstand him, threatening them, should they do so, with the utmost torture. The proclamation was written in coarse but emphatic terms, and was likely to produce a great impression on the minds of simple people. "What a rascal!" cried the commandant's wife. "Just look what he dares to propose to us. To go out to meet him and lay our colors at his feet. Oh! The son of a dog! He doesn't then know that we have been 40 years in the service, and that, thank heaven, we have had a taste of all sorts." Is it possible that there can have been commandants base and cowardly enough to obey this robber? "Such a thing should not be possible," rejoined Ivan Kuzmich. "Nevertheless, they say the scoundrel has already got possession of several forts." "It appears that he is in strength, indeed," observed Fabrin. "We shall know directly the amount of his strength," resumed the commandant. "Vasilissa Egorovna, give me the key of the barn." "Ivan Ignatiych, bring up the bashker and tell July to fetch the rods." "Wait a bit, Ivan Kuzmich," said the commandant's wife, rising, "let me take Masha out of the house. Without I do so she would hear the cries, and they would frighten her." "And as for me, to tell the truth, I am not over curious about such matters." "So hoping to see you again." Torture was then so rooted in the practice of justice that the beneficial ukase ordaining its abolition remained a long time of none effect. It was thought that the confession of the accused was indispensable to condemnation, an idea not merely unreasonable, but contrary to the dictates of the simplest good sense in legal matters, for, if the denial of the accused be not accepted as proof of his innocence, the extorted confession should still less serve as proof of his guilt. Yet even now I still hear old judges sometimes regret the abolition of this barbarous custom. But in those days no one ever doubted of the necessity for torture, neither the judges nor the accused themselves. That is why the commandant's order did not arouse any surprise or emotion among us. Iwan Ignatievich went off to seek the Bashkir, who was under lock and key in the commandant's barn, and a few minutes later he was brought into the anteroom. The commandant ordered him to be brought before him. The Bashkir crossed the sill with difficulty, owing to the wooden shackles he had on his feet. I glanced at him and involuntarily shuddered. He lifted his high cap and remained near the door. I shall never forget that man. He seemed to be at least 70 years old, and he had neither nose nor ears. His head was shaven, and his beard consisted of a few gray hairs. He was little of stature, thin and bent, but his Tartar eyes still sparkled. Said the commandant, who recognized by these terrible marks one of the rebels punished in 1741, "You are an old wolf, by what I see." You have already been caught in our traps. 'Tis not the first time you have rebelled, since you have been so well cropped. Come near and tell me who sent you. The old Bashkir remained silent, and looked at the commandant with a look of complete idiocy. Well, why don't you speak? Continued Ivan Kuzmich. Don't you understand Rus? July, ask him in your language who sent him to our fort. July repeated Ivan Kuzmich's question in the Tartar language. But the Bashkir looked at him with the same expression, and spoke never a word. Jachki. The commandant rapped out a Tartar oath. I'll make you speak. Here, July, strip him of his striped dressing gown, his idiot's dress, and stripe his shoulders. Now then, July, touch him up properly. Two pensioners began undressing the Bashkir. Great uneasiness then overspread the countenance of the unhappy man. He began looking all round like a poor little animal in the hands of children. But when one of the pensioners seized his hands in order to twine them round his neck, and, stooping, upraised the old man on his shoulders, when July took the rods and lifted his hands to strike, then the Bashkir gave a long, deep moan, and, throwing back his head, opened his mouth, wherein, instead of a tongue, was moving a short stump. We were all horrified. "Well," said the commandant, "I see we can get nothing out of him." July, take the Bashkir back to the barn, and as for us, gentlemen, we have still to deliberate. We were continuing to discuss our situation, when Vasilisa Igorovna burst into the room, breathless, and looking affrighted. "What has happened to you?" asked the commandant, surprised. "Misery. Misery," replied Vasilisa Igorovna. Fort Ninyasern was taken this morning. Father Gerasim's boy has just come back. He saw how it was taken. The commandant and all the officers have been hanged, all the soldiers are prisoners. The rascals are coming here. This unexpected news made a great impression upon me. The commandant of Fort Ninyasern, a gentle and quiet young man, was known to me. 2 months previously he had passed on his way from Orenburg with his young wife, and he had stayed with Ivan Kuzmich. The Ninyasernaya was only 25 versts away from our fort. From hour to hour we might expect to be attacked by Pugachev. The probable fate of Marya Ivanovna rose vividly before my imagination, and my heart failed me as I thought of it.